Welcome everyone to the Regen Community Development Call and Update. I'm Gregory, and we usually start these calls out with about a 10-minute overview of where things are at. Right now, we're going to be focused a lot on the current testnet, Aplicado testnet, and we're just coming up into phase 2, so we'll chat a little bit about that. And then, as always, we'll pause from presentation and shift gears into dialogue. So if folks have questions or comments or concerns about anything that's happening, yeah, stay tuned and we'll get to have some dialogue about all of that. So welcome to the community call for February 17th. Okay, so Regen Ledger Testnet is just about to enter phase 2. The upgrade is going to take place at the block height of 138,650, which we're estimating to be, and there may be a even better, more accurate estimate at this point because we're getting closer, but about 1,500 UTC on the 18th. So if you're not familiar, if you're sort of learning about the art of being a validator, there's some docs to help handhold the process for the upgrade. So you can go, there's a link here in the presentation. You can also ask, and I will repost all this information in the validator channel on Discord. I'll take a quick pause and see if Anil or any of the other lead validators want to just make any comments about the upcoming upgrade.
Yeah, so we have two options for this upgrade. So we are going to test the Cosmovisor as well as the, there are instructions for manual upgrade as well. And this upgrade will enable experimental modules on Regen Ledger and IBC module integration as well. So yeah, that allows us for the phase 2 tests.
We lost you, Anil. Did you lose me or did we lose Anil?
We lose Anil.
Yeah, I still have you. I think we lost Anil.
Okay. Great. Well, Anil, I think you may have internet connectivity issues. So just to reiterate, you can, for this coming upgrade, you can either use the Cosmos Visor tool, which helps do automated upgrades at a given block height, or you can do a manual upgrade. There should be docs for either. If you find holes or have questions after reading the docs, reach out and ask, and we'll look forward to improving those. We were just chatting, the lead validators were sort of the council of folks who are helping plan and organize all of this to the best of our ability to bootstrap this public network project. We were just chatting about phase 2, and although I didn't manage to get the details of this into the presentation, I just want to give everybody a verbal update first. We're going to be focusing phase 2 primarily on testing the inter-blockchain communication protocol, or IBC. So what that means is that Regen Ledger will be communicating with the Big Bang testnet, which is another community testnet, testing out the IBC functionality. I'm getting a little bit of feedback on my end. I'm not sure if other folks are. Anyway, so we'll be testing IBC primarily. We're going to after the upgrade happens, just everybody should know, be calm. We're not going to publish any tasks. So there's going to be at least 48 hours or so until we essentially publish this is what phase 2 is going to look like, and here's some specific tasks. Then we're going to publish something on Friday, it looks like, that is sort of an overview of tasks, incentivized tasks, and what the phase 2 is going to look like for IBC testing. That'll be published on Friday, probably towards the end of the day, UTC. And there'll be a weekend comment period. So that means that people participating in the testnet, validators participating in the testnet, can have a look at the plan. If anything isn't clear, you'll have a couple days to submit PRs around the plan there on GitHub to help clarify or ask questions. Then on Monday, we will sort of solidify that plan, and part of that will be an upgrade, a parameter change upgrade to enable IBC on the testnet. And then on Tuesday, we'll be, as a community, creating as robust a documentation set as we can after the lead validators essentially go through a bunch of DevNet cycles. So folks who are sort of advanced validators who would like to lean in to some sort of, cutting edge DevNet testing and documentation with us, we'll invite participation. But that is just to sort of outline to everybody that this testnet, because we're going to be testing sort of bleeding edge and complex software together, we're going to take plenty of time to sort of publish, review, and then start the process and ensure that we have the best docs that we can, because this is all quite new. So I'm going to pause again and see if any of the lead validators have anything to add to my sort of explanation of how the next phase is going to go, and B, if any community members have any questions. So anybody have anything to add? Chris or Mircha, Greg, Anil?
Yes, so phase 2 will continue for a week max, and then we'll enter into phase 3 for region specific module testing. And in phase 2, we'll have an upgrade about param change proposal to enable IBC transactions. And yeah, it would be interesting to test IBC transactions from a group module, but yeah, we'll see if that
Right,
if that
we'll see.
is
That would be a fun thing to test. And
yeah.
I think probably you could also expect in phase 2 to rerun the spam network. We'll probably publish a date for everybody to try again to sort of max out their transactions per block and see how everything goes. But again, we'll make sure to publish with plenty of time and see if we can't solidify sort of documentation. Before I move on here, I also wanted to bring up that there is a Stack Overflow for the Cosmos community. And I was wondering, Corey or anybody else, if you could make sure to share the link to that in the validator Discord channel. That'd be really helpful, I think, because that has come up several times around sort of general questions about using the Cosmos SDK and running validators and whatnot, which there's a much larger community of many, many projects in which, there's sort of a bigger community of support to lean on outside of our own sort of smaller endeavor here. All right. So just a note, I know that there's people in the community who are anxious to get into the incentivized testnet. Phase 2 is the time when we're going to be sort of swapping folks out who've lost their keys or been unable to get their validator unjailed. So basically, if people are, if somebody just gets jailed right before, phase 2, or just we're not going to boot people out for things that happen normally. But if somebody's basically been jailed the entire testnet, we're going to consider that those accounts defunct, and we'll be bringing in, there's a bunch of people waiting in the wings who have validators synced and have done KYC, and we'll be sort of opening seats up in the incentivized testnet for those folks. So if you have questions about that, we can talk about it here on the call or during the, or in the Discord channel. All right, so I didn't I wasn't able to pull in the details here, but tonight, as many of you know, there's going to be the Cosmos Hub upgrade, running the Stargate software, which is the foundation that Regen Ledger is also built on. So it should be fun. If you want to tune into that, please do. And for any of you who aren't already in Discord, come join us over there. And as always, you can check out our roadmap on the public roadmap link there. And with that, and then the last piece here is you can click on this link for a public Google Calendar that keeps track of all of the key events and things happening on the testnet. We will be updating that as phase 2 crystallizes. So all of that should be in there. So if you subscribe to this calendar, that should be helpful in planning your time during phase 2 of the testnet. All right, so I'm going to pause and stop my share and just open it up for questions, comments, and any addendums or upgrades from the lead validators who are on the call. Corey just plopped in the Stack Overflow for the Cosmos SDK and for Tendermint. So
yeah, I see that Dan had linked a tag as well for just general Cosmos. I think that some of the general Cosmos tag is about the Cosmos blockchain project, but some of it has to do with other projects by the name of Cosmos. So the more guaranteed tags to do with blockchain work and our Cosmos would be Cosmos SDK or Tendermint. And folks, we don't have a specific Stack exchange. It is just the tags, but there is some activity there, which, and we encourage people to be, if they have questions that are maybe related to like something that might come up again, to be utilizing Stack Overflow and, sending a link to a question in our Discord. This would also be a great opportunity if some folks are asking Regen specific ones to put a tag of Regen Network on it, and we can build up some reproducible Q&A there.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to start leaning into Stack Overflow a little bit. I think it can help with some of the capacity building and sort of like larger documentation process. So yeah, check out those tags for those of you who are sort of wanting more docs support than we've necessarily been able to provide in sort of testnet and validator stuff, and we can start building docs together with a much larger community. Great. So for those of you who've been joining as the call has been going, I did a brief presentation of sort of where we're at. As usual, there's about 10 minutes of presentation, and right now we're just sort of in dialogue and question and answer. We were just sharing the Stack Overflow links and the public calendar. And yeah, thanks for resharing those, Dan. Okay, well, yes, King Super is asking about slides and the roadmap link. Definitely, we share the slides. We've had a little bit of a delay. We also publish, we basically publish this call on YouTube every week, and along with the link to the slides. I will share the link to the slides right here, and I will share the roadmap right here so that you can have a look at that. Yeah. So again, I want to just reiterate that phase 2 is going to be focused on IBC testing. We are going to, after we go through the network upgrade, we're going to have a couple of days of sort of rest and respite so there's not going to be any particular actions that validators need to take who are running the testnet. People who are coming in and sort of replacing validators who are jailed and have been defunct, and people who have synced nodes and are going to join the active validator set. We will sort that out during that time. We'll be publishing details of phase 2 IBC testing and other activities on Friday. There'll be a 2-day review period over the weekend for people to ask clarifying questions. We'll solidify the plan on Monday evening UTC time, and then we'll start into the process. We're going to try to plan most of the IBC testing for late next week, so there's plenty of time for people to get up to speed. Again, we're sort of going to be testing some of the bleeding edge of what the Cosmos SDK is capable of in running IBC testing and running relayers. So we're sort of giving everything some time to mature and time for people to engage with documentation and playing around with things and doing little experiments before we get into the big incentives towards the end of the week. So I'm just reading in the chat here, Kyle, asking some questions about big picture. So IBC, just sort of zooming back out for folks who aren't deep in the weeds on the testnet, IBC, or the Inter-Blockchain Communication Protocol, allows sovereign, independent, public or consortium blockchains to communicate with one another, to send tokens between one another. Why this is important is because IBC actually, in terms of Regen Network, IBC and the public network, interoperable public network approach of Cosmos really has the potential to transform markets for public goods and complex accounting challenges. In carbon markets, for instance, there's a common question about how to do sort of national, subnational, and international carbon accounting and maintain a global registry in an environment where it's very hard to force people to have a single unified standard or registry service. And that also, for a variety of really good reasons, like that stifles innovation and growth, stifles sovereignty. It doesn't allow people to experiment. But at the same time, how do we have a unified accounting system? Well, IBC provides some hope that we can actually have a unified carbon accounting system and unified carbon markets while maintaining, for instance, national and subnational registry, sovereignty, and usability and governance in carbon markets. So in our use case, specifically for ecosystem services and carbon and kind of in the climate movement, we really believe that IBC unlocks a huge amount of potential for carbon accounting. So us doing testing about transactions between blockchains is the first step towards having registry services be able to communicate with each other and ensure that there aren't double counting, that assets can move back and forth, and we can move towards a global unified carbon accounting system. Hopefully that's helpful for you, Kyle, and maybe for everybody else as far as the bigger why. Why are we taking time to test IBC in the middle of the Regen Network testnet and march towards mainnet? All right, I'm going to just take a pause and see if there's other questions or comments. The slide link is wrong, Patrick says. Is it wrong, or do I have the permissions wrong? Okay, let me just take care of that really quickly. Sorry for the downtime here. Just a moment while I figure out sharing. Okay. Here you go. I just changed access. All right. So King Super was asking about competitors. This is a really interesting question. I mean, first off, I think our perspective is, out cooperate the competition. There are, from the sort of Regen ethos, and I think the larger Cosmos ecosystem, this isn't really about sort of competing with other registries or carbon providers. It's about creating the best open, transparent, usable, well user governed peer-to-peer approach to climate accounting, ecosystem services, natural capital more broadly. And that what that does is it creates very efficient mechanisms for people to come together around the use of the platform without having sort of the vendor lock-in or sort of network platform monopoly sort of side effects. And that's really important for climate finance and natural capital markets to work well. We can't get sucked down into the sort of monopoly, the monopoly game, because that ultimately that will undermine trust and transparency and accountability in the markets. So that's kind of a long way of saying, I mean, number one, I don't really consider anybody in the space to necessarily be our competitors. They're people who we can learn from, who hopefully we can offer value to and create mutualism with. In that said, there are some very different approaches. So zooming back out, I think Regen Network is building on a set of first principles around creating scientifically rigorous, replicable claims about ecological state as the foundation for the digital assets that represent natural capital. What does that mean? That means that we want people to be able, we want to reduce the cost of auditing an asset to as close to zero as possible, so that it's extraordinarily cheap to unveil cheating, for instance, because that's the foundation for a good market or good commons governance. Either way, whatever the rules of a community trying to value something that's invisible, the process of making it visible and making it possible for people to check your work are the sort of foundational building blocks for these markets to work. That's radically different than a lot of the incumbent players. A lot of the incumbent players rely on reputation and sort of don't necessarily want to be as fully transparent and publish, because their business models rely on you just trusting them, instead of the entire model being focused on the efficiency of the public utility or the public network. And so that is a radically different approach that Regen Network has, which is sort of the efficiency and transparency of bringing a community together to generate consensus about ecological health as the foundation for the marketplace. So our success as a community, our success as Regen Network, is the first principles are cooperate, be transparent, and try to empower actions and users at the edge as much as possible, instead of trying to sort of capture as much value as a private organization as possible, which is sort of the old business paradigm. And I think a lot of the incumbents in the natural capital space are playing by those old rules. But ultimately they benefit from our infrastructure anyway, which is kind of the paradox. So hopefully that's helpful. Just a little riff on that. All right, we're just coming up to the end of the 30 minutes. I'm going to take another pause, see if there's questions or comments. really grateful for everybody's time hopping on for the community call. It's nice to see some new names and familiar ones as well. So yeah, thanks everybody for your time. And
Thank you.
I'll look forward to chatting with you all online. And Joshua, maybe we'll take your question over to the validator channel. Joshua's just asking about stats from the stress test for Cosmos blockchains, which I think is maybe a bigger conversation than we have for the next sort of 30 seconds. So we can chat about that in the validator channel. Thanks, everybody. Have a fantastic week, and look forward to seeing you in the channels that we keep.
Thank you. Thank you all.